The morning sun rose over a quiet village in Nigeria. Women swept their compound, children chased one another along the dusty road, and traders prepared for another busy day in the market. In a small house at the edge of the village lived a widow named Mama Esther. She had two sons. The older son was Daniel, 25 years old. The younger son was Samuel, 22. Everyone in the village believed Mama Esther loved both of her sons equally, but behind the closed door of her home, the truth was very different. Daniel was the child she adored. She smiled whenever she saw him. She cooked his favorite meals, bought him new clothes whenever she could, and defended him even when he was wrong. Samuel, however, received none of that love. No matter how hard he worked, his mother never appreciated him. She spoke harshly to him, blamed him for almost everything, and treated him more like a servant than a son. Every morning, Samuel woke up before sunrise. He fetched water from the stream, swept the compound, fed the chickens, worked on the farm, and gathered firewood before returning home. By the time he finished, sweat covered his face, but he never complained. Daniel usually woke up long after breakfast. He spent most of his day chatting with friends, playing games, and sleeping under the mango tree. Yet, when it was time to eat, Mama Esther served Daniel large pieces of meat and fish. Samuel was given whatsoever remained. One morning, Samuel smiled and said, "Good morning, Mama." She did not even look at him. Daniel laughed. "Maybe she did not hear you." Samuel simply smiled and sat quietly. Although his mother's words often hurt him, he still loved her with all his heart. The villagers noticed the difference. One afternoon, an elderly woman named Mama Grace stopped Samuel as he carried a heavy load of firewood. "My son," she asked gently, "why do you always smile even when your mother treats you badly?" Samuel smiled softly. "She is still my mother. Maybe one day she will love me." Mama Grace sighed. Those words touched her heart. That evening, Samuel worked at the village market, helping traders carry bags of rice and yam. At sunset, he returned home with the little money he had earned. He placed it in his mother's hand. "Mama, I made this today. I hope it helps." Without thanking him, Mama Esther collected the money. Just a few minutes later, Daniel walked in. "Mama, I need money. My friends are waiting." Without hesitation, she handed him every naira Samuel had earned. Samuel watched quietly. He felt the pain in his heart, but he said nothing. Days turned into weeks. The same thing happened again and again. Samuel continued working. Daniel continued wasting money. One afternoon, Mama Grace finally confronted Mama Esther. "Why do you hate Samuel so much?" she asked. Mama Esther became angry. "Stay out of my family matters." But Mama Grace refused to leave. "He is your son. He loves you more than anyone." Suddenly, Mama Esther's eyes filled with tears. For years, she had hidden a painful secret. The day Samuel was born, her husband had rushed her to the hospital. On the way there was a terrible accident. Her husband died before they arrived. Although everyone told her the incident was not Samuel's fault, deep inside, she blamed the baby who had survived while her husband had not. From that day, she allowed grief to become hatred. She never realized she was punishing an innocent child. A few days later, tragedy struck again. Mama Esther suddenly collapsed while returning from the market. Neighbors rushed her to the nearest hospital. After examining her, the doctor spoke seriously. "She needs emergency surgery. If we don't operate soon, she may not survive." The amount needed for the operation was far beyond what the family could afford. Samuel looked at Daniel. "We have to save Mama." Daniel looked away. "I don't have any money." Then, without another word, he disappeared. Samuel searched everywhere for help. He borrowed from friends, he begged relatives, he even asked the village chief. Nobody could raise enough money. Finally, Samuel made the hardest decision of his life. The one thing their late father had left him was a small piece of farmland. It was his future. It was all he owned. Without hesitation, Samuel sold the land. He took every naira to the hospital and paid for the surgery. The operation lasted for several hours. Samuel remained outside the hospital the entire night. He had no money left for food or for a place to sleep. He lay down on a wounded bench, praying quietly. God, please save my mother. The next morning, the doctor walked out with a smile. The surgery was successful. Samuel closed his eyes and thanked God. When Mama Esther finally woke up, the first question she asked was, "Where is Daniel?" The nurse looked surprised. "He left yesterday and never returned." She pointed toward the waiting area. "But your younger son has been here every minute. He sold everything he owned just to save your life." Mama Esther slowly looked through the window. There was Samuel, sleeping on a hard wooden bench, still wearing the same dirty clothes. His shoes were torn. His face showed exhaustion. Yet, one hand still held his mother's medical file tightly against his chest. The doctor quietly said, "Many children abandon their parents when things become difficult. Your son gave up his entire future so you could have another chance to live." Mama Esther broke down. For the first time in 22 years, she saw Samuel not as the child she blamed, but as the son who loved her unconditionally. She slowly walked to him. Samuel woke up immediately. "Mama, are you feeling better?" Instead of answering, she fell to her knees. "My son, forgive me." Samuel quickly lifted her. "No, Mama, please don't kneel." Tears streamed down her face. "I spent years blaming you for something that was never your fault. I closed my heart to the child who loved me the most." Samuel hugged her tightly. "I forgive you a long time ago, Mama." Both of them cried in each other's arms. A few weeks later, Daniel returned home after wasting all the money he had received over the years. He expected his mother to welcome him as always. Instead, he found Samuel helping her walk through the compound. Daniel lowered his head in shame. When Esther looked at both of her sons, with tears in her eyes, she said, "I made the greatest mistake of my life. A mother's love should never be favorite. Every child deserves to be loved." Daniel apologized to his brother for years of pride and selfishness. Samuel embraced him without hesitation. From that day forward, the family slowly healed. Mama Esther treated both sons with equal love and respect. She never forgot the lesson that nearly cost her everything.